Hola, hola, amigas. Welcome to another episode of Modern Latina in Midlife. Thank you for being here once again. Today, I have a beautiful conversation with Sunny Lamba. She's joining me on the podcast today, and we had a really deep conversation having to do all around, our bodies, our menopausal bodies, and the unworthiness and shame that some of us are feeling, including myself, around the way that our bodies look and our bodies are changing. And, some of these things that come up and, with all the social conditioning that we have and everything that we see in the media about how we should be looking and trying to keep our bodies svelte and like we were still in our 20s or 30s. And anyways, we go into this conversation and have some really deep, profound conversations and thoughts around it. So I hope that you join us, that you enjoy it, and that you share this episode with a friend who might also be going through their own personal journey with their body changes. So let me tell you a little bit about Sunny. Sunny is a certified life coach, a breathwork and meditation coach who is helping high achieving women heal themselves through self love. She helps them overcome their self doubt and crippling fear so they can step into their magic to love a more fulfilled life, to live a more fulfilled life. She is a speaker, author, and the host of the Authentic Me podcast. She believes the world puts women in cages called flaws and conditions us to believe that there is something wrong with us. However, when we start loving and accepting ourselves, we can break free and show up as the true, authentic me. Sunny lost her mother at the age of 14 and became a mini mother to her siblings. She has a built in resilience and grit that has helped her navigate through life and help others do the same. Help me welcome Sunny Lamba to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Sunny. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored.
Thank you. I am as well. Likewise. Sunny, I believe that most people have a poignant point in their life that leads them to the work that they do. Was that
Mhm.
the case for you? And what was that poignant moment?
I would say there was a series of moments, but if I have to pick one moment, it would be in 2017. I went to Vegas with my husband on a weekend getaway. And as we were getting ready to pack and head back, I just had a moment where I started crying and I said, and my husband's first thing was, "Oh gosh, what did I do?"
Right.
And I know, right? He's like, "Okay, we just had an amazing weekend. What did I do?" And I said, "I don't wanna go back to work.
Mhm.
I don't wanna go." It was Sunday. I'm like, "Tomorrow, this time, I would be in office, and I don't wanna do that." And that flight back home was just us talking about this, and, I'm so grateful that I have a supportive partner who, at that time, said, "Why don't you just quit and figure it out?"
Mm.
And he had mentioned that many times before, and I had said, "No, bills have to be paid. We both are running the house." And but that day, I think it was that moment where I was just so done and so done with my work. It wasn't fulfilling. I felt there was more to life. I was complaining all the time. I worked with amazing people, and I'm so grateful for that. But the work by itself was not fulfilling me. And I knew there was more. There was more that I'm meant to do. There is a higher purpose. I don't know if anyone who's listening has that, that feeling, that gut feeling that comes up every now and then, that what am I doing? I want to do something bigger. There is something more for me. And I had that inkling for a while, but that was the day. By the time we landed back in Calgary, I'm from Canada. By the time we landed back, we had picked a date when I'm going to quit my job.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. And how beautiful that you had a supportive husband, that
Yeah.
didn't like freak out, and, I mean, he probably saw it coming too, right? Like, he had been
Yeah,
telling
and
you, so
yeah, and that's the reason every time I share this story, I always say that I'm grateful for that because I don't want someone to be sitting there and saying, "Well, you had someone to support you, I don't." And
Mhm.
we all are in different situations. And what I'm saying is that if you have something, there is that inner gut feeling and you want to do something, you don't have to quit your job. You can start something on the side. We live in a world where there's social media and there's like you can connect with anyone. You can put like an hour a day, 15 minutes a day, something. I was lucky and I want to acknowledge that fact that I was lucky that I had a supportive partner. But if you don't, you can still do it.
100%. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you brought that in. I feel like it is easier than ever
Yeah,
to start something and make a transition into something different. Um,
exactly.
so thank you for sharing that. In some of our communication, you've mentioned that your story of losing your mother at a young
Yeah.
age,
Yeah.
and that led you down a path of feeling unloved and unworthy. Would you kindly share a little bit about that personal journey? I think this will kind of lead us nicely into the next part of the topic of today's conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So, as I said, there were many moments, a series of moments that led to me being here today. And the first one of them was when I was 14 and I lost my mother. She had cancer. She had battled with cancer for 3 years before that. And those 3 years made us into, and when I say us, I mean, I have two sisters and I have a younger brother. I'm the middle daughter, and then we have the youngest brother. And it had already led us to a point where I don't know about the younger two, but the two older ones, me and my older sister, were already taking care of the household. Were already playing that role of a mother because my mom was always in the hospital and in and out, and eventually, long story short, we lost her. It was in the month of January,
Mm,
and I was only 14 at that time.
mm,
I had an older sister who was already in the process of coming to Canada. So a year later, she came to Canada, and here I was with two younger siblings. My father, who was an alcoholic and also a typical man from that generation, he wasn't emotionally attached. He expected that the household will run just as smoothly as it did before,
yeah.
and he would come home from work and there would be food prepared on the table. His job was just providing financially and that's it. And we took on that role. We took on the role of the mother. And I always say this, that day in January 1991, I became a mother,
Mm,
a mini mother, I should say, because I was only
mhm,
14.
yeah.
And I became a mini mother to my two younger siblings. And as you already mentioned, it led to this living with this feeling of not being worthy and not being loved because I'm South Asian and there were really high expectations set up for education. You had to ace in school. There was there was no way that you can fail. So
Mm,
while I am taking care of the household, we didn't have anyone coming home and cleaning and all that. So we're doing everything back then. I'm cooking. My grandma lived with us, but she was old. So I was actually ended up taking care of her too. So I'm taking care of the younger siblings. I am cooking. I am making sure the house is clean, everything. And then dad comes home and everything has to be in order while maintaining high grades in school
mhm,
because there was no way that can suffer. No, there was no excuse that, oh, yeah, by the way, my mother just passed away, so I failed the exam. No, 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 no. It doesn't work that way. So, all these high expectations that were there, and I felt that I was always falling short on some front. Either I never felt short on school somehow, but if my younger sister is not happy, I felt that I'm not a good mother. And that's a really big burden to put on a little girl where she's thinking, "Oh, I'm not a good mother." Well, I'm not their mother. I
mm,
can't be. I am just a sister. But I took it on myself that if my brother is suffering, if he's not doing well in school, my younger brother is hard of hearing and he had trouble in school. I just thought that there was something wrong with me, that I'm not doing everything that I should be doing. And on top of that, there was this feeling that maybe I did something wrong that mom is gone.
Mm,
So that feeling of not deserving to be loved, not deserving to have someone to take care of you. And I lived with that. And I should say there are still days when I have that. It's still there because it's such a deep core wound. And I'm on my healing journey. I'm doing all the stuff. I'm doing therapy. I'm doing breath work. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing meditation. But there are still some days when I feel like, oh gosh, maybe I'm just not worthy of love.
mm. Oh, thank you for sharing that story. I feel it very deeply, very, very deeply.
Thank you.
When you say, and I'm sorry, so January is the anniversary of your mother's death, and we're recording this in January. So, for me, my father passed away in January as well. So it always brings up stuff. It's so weird.
Yes. Yes, it
So
brings up so much stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I can feel that. Um, so thank you for sharing that so vulnerably and using this story to catapult you into the work that you do.
Yeah.
So, in working with women in your coaching program, what would you say then are some of the common emotional and physical challenges that you have observed women, particularly in the midlife stage, which is about 35 to 55?
Yeah.
What do you observe in those women going through in this stage of like perimenopause and
Yeah.
menopause? And how do you address some of these issues that you are seeing?
I mostly coach women with negative limiting beliefs and self-doubt. So that's there. But interestingly, when you dig deep and when you go into those limiting beliefs and you start peeling the layers, what you see is deep down there is that feeling of being unworthy, being unloved, and a lot of that then attaches to the physical body as well. Because perimenopause, menopause, I have early menopause. So I'm postmenopausal now. It's been 7 years actually. I had really early menopause.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I suffered myself, or I should, not, suffer is the wrong word. I'm going to change that. But I faced was starting to appreciate that postmenopausal body because you see these changes. So there's so many factors here actually. Number one, you're in midlife. So you have that calling. You have something deep saying, oh, there's more. I got to do more because you start seeing this midlife as the point where, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Mhm.
Time is limited. I got to achieve more. I got to do this. So you have that on one side. And when you start looking at that, okay, you know what? I want to do more. But then on top of that, you have the hormones playing a role.
Mhm.
And then your body is changing and everything together, you just feel like, what is happening to me? Why
Mhm.
is this happening? And I think I mentioned this when you and were talking earlier. I love how Brené Brown puts it in her book Gifts of Imperfection, that it's not midlife crisis, it's midlife unraveling, because we are now like peeling the layers. This is the time when we're like, okay, I got to figure this out. What is going on now? Some of us we'll just live with that and never figure it out, never do the inner work, never heal ourselves. Just, be critical of our body, be critical of the changes and even the brain fog. So it's not
Mhm.
just the physical body, there's the brain fog, there's the hormones, there's the moods and emotions and everything. So some of us are going to be taking that and going deeper down, saying, I'm just unlovable, I'm just unworthy, I'm just a mess.
Mhm.
But I am so grateful that we live in this era where we have so much information, sometimes too much,
Mhm.
that a lot of us are now saying, okay, well, I can take ownership of this
Mhm.
and I can go find someone to talk to. I can get a coach, maybe a coach, or maybe I can go to therapy. Maybe I can do something. I can read about it and I can start appreciating the journey that I'm going through.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I answered your question,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I agree. Yes, it's like this perfect storm that comes in all
yeah.
together at the same time with all the changing body and the
Yeah.
hormones and it is. It's a perfect storm. And you're right. I think it is easier than ever with social media to have access to resources and also to be able to see others who do allow themselves to be vulnerable and who do feel comfortable sharing these journeys and these struggles, that then you start to see, oh, it's not just me. Maybe I can talk about it openly, and
Yeah.
I think we are giving ourselves more permission to be able to have these conversations than my mother did. I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess I'd have to ask her.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
also wanted to say that while I say that, oh, thanks to social media, I do want to put that disclaimer that we do live in a world which is driven by an algorithm.
Mhm,
So if you're surrounding yourselves with positive content,
mhm,
people like you who are helping women in midlife. So if you're surrounding yourselves with that, your algorithm is going to say, okay, let me show her more. But if you are
mhm,
only navigating and only scrolling on negative stuff,
mhm,
that is also out there. And unfortunately, women are portrayed in a negative way in the menopausal
mhm.
time. There's this, oh, yeah, that's it. Your life is over. You have hot flashes. You can't do anything. If you're surrounding yourselves with that information, then that's what the algorithm is going to show you.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that in.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking,
Yeah.
well, my feed, my algorithm, I'm following these great people and
Yeah.
thought leaders like you. So, yay, the algorithm is feeding me this like great stuff. But you're absolutely right. Thank you for pointing that out because there is definitely the opposite. If
Yeah.
you're watching and feeding your brain and the algorithm the negative stuff, that's what's going to continue to feed your mind. So,
Exactly. And I really hope that when we share something like this, it somehow finds its way into someone's feed who needs
yes.
this.
Yes, 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 let's put that intention out there. Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. So, in your experience, how does this lack of self-love or being unlovable or unworthiness, how does it start to impact a woman's perception and her experience in her about her body in this period?
Oh gosh, it does. It's has plays a big role actually. I'm working with a couple of clients right now who are going through that exact same thing. They are in that perimenopausal stage and they have gained some extra inches around certain parts of their body and there's all this criticism comes and my own experience as well. I was always the skinny girl.
Mhm.
I could eat a tub of ice cream and not gain a pound. I had the metabolism of a tiger, a
Amazing.
tigress, right? And I could eat anything and get away with it. And then came perimenopause and it came early for me. So it was even worse because the other women of my age were still okay to eat whatever. And here I was because I'm 7 years, 8 years ahead of them. So I
Mhm.
feel like, oh my God, I feel so old at 40. I'm only
Mhm.
39. And where did this extra pounds come from? I never gained it, so I'm kinda used to the same style of eating habits. I
Right.
I I have 32 sweet teeth. I love
Mhm.
chocolate.
Me too.
I love my dark chocolate.
Same.
So, long story short, what I'm saying is that I had to come to a point where I was like, "Hold on, I never gained any weight, and now what? What is going on?" And, I have the body of a postmenopausal 47-year-old woman who has extra pounds or extra um, skin, extra
Mhm.
fat around my stomach and my thighs. And I had to go through that phase where I had to step back and say, I'm so grateful for my body.
Mm.
Because of this body, I was able to create a human being inside me.
Mhm.
And a lot of us women forget that. We forget that we don't have that 20-year-old body, but we also have all these beautiful scars and stretch marks and wrinkles, which tell a story.
Mhm.
Every scar, everything tells a story. It's a life lived
Mhm.
and it's showing. And we got to be grateful for that. So, as I was saying, I'm coming back to my client actually just before our podcast recording. I had my coaching call. And one of the things I told her to do, my client, I'm like, I want you to go on a date with yourself.
Mhm.
Fill up your tub with water, light some candles, and put some nice music on. And that's a date with you. You don't need anyone to tell you that your body is amazing or not amazing or imperfect. You got to just tell yourself that I am so grateful for this body. Because of this body, I'm able to walk, I'm able to talk, I'm able to experience the world. I've created a human being. I'm able to give love to others. And that's a process we have to go through in order to appreciate this postmenopausal body or this perimenopausal body.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I know so many of us forget the gratitude part of it. We
Mhm.
forget that the journey this body has taken and the experience and the wisdom that we have gained over those years. So
Mhm.
instead of being critical and criticizing ourselves and looking in the mirror and seeing all the flaws,
Mhm.
instead of that, how about we say, wow, these flaws make me me. They make
Mhm.
me unique and they make me who I am today.
Mhm. They make you feel authentic.
Yeah, exactly. They make you feel authentic because you only become truly authentic when you accept yourselves,
Mhm.
scars and all, everything. You
Mhm.
accept the wrinkles
Mhm.
and the scars and the stretch marks and everything.
Yeah. So you mentioned working on the unworthiness part. So I think that many of us, at least many of the women that I speak to, like you mentioned, when you peel all the layers and you start getting down to what that core wound is, um, many of us are walking around with this sense of unworthiness.
Yes.
Um, so that is something that I just recently identified. Believe it or not. I was like, "What? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too." But so I'm starting to work on it. I've done a lot of work on it, right, from, inner child work and energy work and breath work and, doing all the things because it just keeps coming up. Do you and my worthiness is, in helping women or in whatever, showing up or speaking, like it creeps in. In working on this unworthiness piece, when we manage to unblock it, do you think that we also that unworthiness what am I trying to say? When I heal that unworthiness and I am able to better show up and believe in myself and my
Hmm.
capabilities, do you think that that also kind of cures or addresses the body image issue, or does that kind of need to be worked on separately?
Oh, no, they go hand in hand,
Okay.
totally hand in hand. When
Okay.
you work on that deep, deep down, that feelings of unworthiness, you start loving yourself so much more
Okay.
and
That's
you
what I
start
was.
appreciating your body. And I'm not even joking. This is like actual physical thing that I have noticed in me. When I started loving myself more, I started saying that I'm worthy and not just saying an affirmation, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. No,
Right.
actually sit down, journal on it. Where is this unworthiness coming from? Why am I worthy? And writing about, I actually did journaling last week, actually. I am worthy because, and then I wrote 20 reasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I said, I'm going to write 20. I'm not going to stop until I get 20
Mm.
reasons why I'm worthy. When you do all that work, the icky, the shadowy, the muddy water kind of work, when
Mhm.
you do that, and when I did that over the last 2, 3 years, when I look in the mirror, all I see is beauty. I
Mhm.
don't know, maybe it has actually physically changed. I
Mhm.
seriously feel that my skin is better.
Yeah, like you show up better, right? Like
Yeah.
your body responds, right?
It does, and I was joking the other day, I'm like, "I feel like I'm reverse aging."
You're like, "I am beautiful. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
you know, I feel
Look at my
beautiful,
skin."
and it also because so one is, of course, mentally you've changed that, so now you're only seeing the positives when you're looking in the mirror, but also because I feel worthy, I take better care of myself. I
Mm,
eat better, I
yes.
drink more water,
That
I
is what
do
I am
self-care.
finding. That
Yeah,
is the change that I am starting to notice in myself. So I started working on this piece right before the holidays, maybe November, like Thanksgiving, Black Friday. Black Friday, I remember
yeah,
this. And so I did all this work in December, and then come the new year, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna honor my body." It wasn't like, "I'm gonna lose weight, and I'm gonna eat healthy, and I'm gonna go to the gym 5 times a week." It was like, "No, I want to honor my body. How can I honor my body?" It's not deprivation. It's not saying I have to follow this strict diet, but how can I nourish my body? And so I started noticing this. That's why I asked that question because I wasn't addressing that in the work that I was doing. But I feel that the worthiness part of it is like, wait a minute, my body is worth of good nutrition
yeah,
and movement. Like my body thrives on that. Why wouldn't I do that? And it's kind of like this aha moment. It's like, oh, wow, this
yeah,
this is switching.
yeah.
So, thank you for confirming that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and we women tend to just serve, 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 serve,
Mhm.
serving others, fulfilling everyone else's wishes, and making sure everyone else is okay and comfortable, and they have everything they want, and we forget to take care of our own bodies.
100%.
Yeah,
And this is true for women as young as in their 30s, or I'm sorry, as young as in their 20s or even earlier. I mean,
even earlier.
you
Yeah,
became a
my
mini mom
story.
at 14. So,
Exactly.
but I was in this retreat that I was in yesterday that I shared about you earlier. There were young moms there, and everybody is sharing the same stories from 20s to our 50s. Everybody's sharing the same struggles, the same thoughts that we're having. Everybody's giving, 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 giving.
Yeah,
Some of us, some of those with young children are sitting there feeling guilty because they left their children at home or because they had to call in extra help for somebody to watch them so that they could go work on themselves. It's amazing that, these stories are ingrained in us at such an early age.
yeah, yeah. And we
So
see
when
our moms and our
Yes.
grandmothers do that, so it's
Yeah,
conditioned and it's
so it becomes
observational.
like
Yeah,
yeah, it's we're just, like, adopting those patterns, just it's automatic. So when you're working with women, you've already shared, like, one strategy that you gave your client to have a date with yourself. What other strategies do you recommend? Like practical things that our listeners can take away and say, okay, I can start implementing this. When you work with women who are struggling with that negative self image around their bodies or that shame around, their body changes.
yeah. So I already mentioned gratitude as well.
Mm,
So
okay.
that's another big one, to be aware of how much this body has given you.
Hmm.
Because when you're grateful, that shows. That shows in your physical health, actually. Another big one that is so simple, but it has always worked with my clients and has worked with me, is mirror work. Looking in the mirror, looking straight into your eyes and saying, I love myself.
Hmm.
And when I first started doing that, I used to forget because, I'm not the
Yeah.
priority. I can tell
Right.
my son that I love you 10 times in a day, but I forget to
Yes.
tell myself. And it feels awkward. So I started putting an alarm on my phone five
Hmm.
times in the day. The alarm would go off, and whatever I'm doing, I would stop. I would go to the mirror. If I don't have a mirror, I would just literally look in my phone, selfie mode, and look into the eyes of that woman in the mirror and say, and I just put my hand on my heart and I said, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And I am betting you, if you try that, put a 10 minutes timer and do it for 10 straight minutes.
Oh, wow.
It would be very awkward. You would want to stop, but by the end of it, you would either have a big smile on your face or you would have tears rolling down your
Yes,
cheeks.
I can imagine. I would probably
Yeah.
start crying.
Yeah, I cried. When I first time did it for 10 full minutes, after that I only did it for like 1 minute. Okay, for 1 minute is
Mhm.
really long
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. And
So
slowly I would like, do it like 5 times, just say 5 times.
yeah.
But it's so uncomfortable because it's so deeply conditioned in us
Mhm,
that, you know, I don't deserve to love myself. Why am
mhm.
I saying that? I deserve to love everyone else. I have to give my love to everyone else, but I don't need to love myself. And it feels really awkward and you want to stop. But if you keep going and do it every single day,
Okay.
5
Let's
times a day.
okay. Okay. That
Yeah.
answers my question my next
Yeah, do it
question.
5 times a day, 3 times a day, or even if
Yeah.
every single morning. How many of us wake up in the morning, we walk into our bathroom and we look in the mirror and we see, oh, there's gray hair. Oh, there's this new wrinkle. Oh, there's this. Oh, I have my bed hair. I look bad. How about you walk into your bathroom, you look in the mirror and say, hello, gorgeous. I love you.
I love that. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a Post-it note on my mirror because I work
Yeah.
from home.
Yes.
So I'll just
Yes.
put a Post-it note on my bathroom mirror, so every time I walk in, I remind myself
Yeah.
to tell myself
It's
to
interesting you said that because when I first started doing it, I couldn't remember. So I had a post it note and my
Mhm.
husband would just laugh at me. I had like 5 post it notes on my bathroom mirror saying, I love myself. I am amazing. I'm powerful. They're affirmations, kind of, but just actually, instead of just repeating the affirmations, I am this, I am this, I'm this, you are really connecting with the soul and
Yeah,
you're looking into your eyes and put your hand on your heart and just keep repeating, I love myself, I love myself, I
I
love
love
myself.
that. Hand
And
and
it, it,
heart.
it does wonders.
Okay, I am gonna try that. I'm writing this down because I also wanna share this on social media. I think that would be powerful.
Yeah. And then another big one is self forgiveness.
Mm, that's a good
We
one.
are sitting around feeling shame and blaming ourselves for every small thing. And I want to share a story. My son, I think he was 6 at the time, and they used to have Tuesday as pizza day, but you had to order the pizza the week before. And I forgot to order his pizza. And he went to school, and I didn't give him lunch because I thought it's pizza day, but I didn't realize that I haven't ordered pizza for him that week. And I think I was on a call or a Zoom or something, and suddenly, mom's brain, I'm
Mhm.
like, I think I didn't give him food. Did I order his pizza? So as I'm on this Zoom call, I open the other window and I'm looking and I'm like, oh God, I did not order pizza. It was 2 p.m. His lunch was at noon.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh my God, my poor kid, the little thing, he's probably hungry. He's other kids would be eating. So I just had to end the Zoom call. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I gotta go. And I made up a story. And how many times we moms make up that
Mhm.
story? I just got a call from my kid's school. I'm like,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
hold on. And I pick up my phone. I'm like, my kid's school is calling. I gotta go. I run out the door, like literally, and I go to his school. And at the reception, I'm like, I'm here to pick him up early today. She's like, oh, what happened? I'm like, oh, and I told her I was feeling so guilty. I'm like, I did not give him lunch today. And I can't even imagine when other kids were eating, he was probably just looking at everyone else.
Mhm.
And she smiled at me and she called him and he came and I didn't say anything there. So as we leave the school, I'm walking to the car. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Mama is so sorry. I didn't order your lunch and you were probably hungry. He's like, yeah, I was just looking at everyone else and they were all eating pizza. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, were you hungry? He's like, no, I was okay. But I felt so guilty. So I took him right away, like picked him up. We went to a restaurant. We ordered pizza. We had lunch together. Over, right? It's over. And I'm saying if it was someone else, especially a man, they would have forgotten it. They'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm a bad father. Oh
It would
no.
have been fine.
And then 2 days later, they'd be fine. But I felt so guilty for 6 months. And even now, when I'm talking, sometimes I feel, oh my God, I'm a bad
Oh.
mom. But it's okay. And I forgot where I was going with this,
The
but what I'm trying
forgiveness
to
part.
say is that forgive yourselves. There's
Mhm.
so much guilt that we live with for small, small things, for everything that's not even related to us. So we got to do the forgiveness work.
Yes.
Write a letter of forgiveness. Ask
Mm.
yourselves a simple question. What is it that I'm still holding on to that I haven't forgiven myself for?
Well, that's a good one. That's a great journal entry.
Yeah.
to
And
do.
then whatever comes up, then you meditate on it and or you write a forgiveness letter on that thing.
Mhm. I
And
love
it's a
that.
very simple thing you can say is what I did at that time was the best of my knowledge. I did whatever was the best of my knowledge at that
Yeah.
time. And I forgive myself for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So, in speaking of meditation, do you think that practices like meditation and breath work aid in developing more love for ourselves or accepting our relationship with our menopausal bodies?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I am a very, very big proponent of meditation. I meditate every single day. If there's something going on and I'm traveling and I'm busy, even if I do 5 minutes, I will do it.
Mhm.
I love meditation. Last year, oh wow, I'm saying last year, last year in September, so
2023,
September
right?
2023, I did a 10 days silent meditation program
I want to do that.
where you don't speak at all for 10 days, and it was life changing. So to answer
Mm.
your question, yes, practices like meditation, especially breath work also, because breath work releases a lot of trauma that's stuck in your body. So breath work and then even meditation,
Mhm.
simple meditation where you're just sitting and acknowledging, just
Mhm.
observing. You don't
Mhm.
have to do anything complicated, even if
Mhm.
you do for 5 minutes. If you're new to meditation, it's going to be hard, but just sitting and observing as an outsider, let that thought come, observe it, let it go. When we observe, we become an outside particle kind of thing, and we observe it from that outside view, and become aware because thoughts will come. And observation is the first step to healing. So,
Mhm.
meditation is a great starting point to just be aware of what is it, what thoughts are coming about your body, about yourself, about anything. And if your
And just
thoughts are
observe.
all about, oh my gosh, my kids are going to college and da da da, then don't think of that as like, oh, it's nothing. It is really something deep because you're totally not thinking about yourself at all,
Right.
which means you are just living for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk, I know that you mentioned that you are working towards your breathwork certification.
Yes.
Um, when we work on breathwork, in my retreat that I was in yesterday, we did a breathwork session, and oh my gosh,
Ooh.
a breathwork session is a lot of work.
Yeah,
It's
it
so
is. It's
powerful.
tiring.
It's excuse me?
Yeah, it's tiring.
It's tiring.
Yeah.
I was ready for a nap afterwards,
Yeah.
and this breath work was in the middle of the day, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, how do I keep myself awake?" Because it was a lot of work and we processed a lot. So and this wasn't my first time, I've done it before, so and that's why I don't do them very often because I know it's a lot of work, I know it's gonna bring up a lot, I know it's gonna be tiring, so I don't do them very often. But in this breath work, I released a lot, I know I released a lot. I can't identify what necessarily was released, but
Hmm.
I know that there was a lot released. Um, I guess can you talk a little bit about like do we need to go in with an intention of what's going to be released or does it like how does that work that science behind what's going to happen during this breath work? What's going to be released,
Yeah.
in the subconscious
Yes.
level?
Exactly. I think it depends on your journey with breathwork. If you're really new, I would say just go. Just go with the flow and let whatever comes up, let it come up. But if you have done a few sessions and you know that you've released and you're ready to up level and you're ready to go to that next level, it's good to set an intention.
Mhm.
So the last breathwork that I did, I had set up an intention for myself of clearing the block of being unloved. So I had that intention and I went in with that. And I did feel afterwards, like I know there was a huge release, but I felt that it was specifically with that block I had released it. So yeah, simple answer. If you're new, just
Mhm.
just explore, see
Mhm.
what comes up, but be open. Sometimes what happens when you're new to breath work and you actually set an intention, you block yourself because now you're in your head, you're overthinking it. And you're saying, oh my gosh, but this is the intention I said. Why is it not coming up? So just go with the flow. Whatever comes up, let it come. If it is with a certified breathwork facilitator or an experienced facilitator, they will say certain things that will make sure that those things come up that you are supposed to feel and you're supposed to release. But yeah, after a few sessions,
Yeah.
definitely set an intention.
Yeah, that was powerful. Yeah, I did set an intention yesterday, and it was around that unworthiness piece. So,
Yeah.
it was really, really powerful, really profound.
I'm
I think
so
that
glad.
yes,
Yeah, I'm
and
so
I think
glad that you released.
thank you. Yes, I felt it. The practitioner saw it. She can see it. And in breath work, um, I have a very strong physical reaction. You can
Yeah.
I don't want to call it paralyzed because I don't want to scare anybody, but your hands can tense up.
Yeah.
So my hands tense up, and I have this need to like open my arms. I can't keep them here. It like
Yeah.
everything tenses up, and I need to like stretch fully. My feet tense up. So I get really scared when I get like that because I
Yeah.
feel out of control. So
Yes.
yesterday I said, okay, I know this happens to me. I've been told it's okay. I've been told I'm gonna be fine, and I'm going to do my best to allow myself to just be in that discomfort. It's gonna be short-lived. So I tried my best, and the practitioner saw me that I was struggling, and she saw that I was really tense, so she would come and just kinda like, "You're good. You're doing good. It's gonna be
Yeah.
over." And so that's all I needed. She was really good. She was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And, I mean, saying because there was like 22 of us in the circle, so she was kinda tending to a lot of us at once, but, yeah, it was powerful. Breathwork is just such beautiful work.
Yeah.
So
And that's
it
all you need sometimes. This one person to hold space for you,
mhm. Yeah.
to say that I'm here and you're okay.
Yes,
And I loved what
exactly.
you said, that I'm so glad that I decided to push through the discomfort.
Mhm,
A lot of us actually, when the discomfort comes, we're like, no, no, no.
mhm.
I am a self-love coach. Like self-love is really big for me. And people think self-love is all about lovey-dovey hearts and massages and all that. But no, it is about the discomfort. It is about doing that difficult, hard work, which you probably don't want to.
Right.
I remember when I started healing my losing my mom, it took me 37 years. No, that's too much. That makes me too old.
Mhm.
Whatever, 30 years actually, I should say 30 years because I was 14. So yeah, I was 44 3 years ago when I finally decided healing on that. And I was scared that the grief is going to consume me. I thought I won't be able to handle it and it would be too painful. And there were moments when I cried so much. But crying is good.
Yeah,
Tears just bring us back to the balance.
it is good.
Yeah.
It's doing the hard work and moving through the discomfort with the discomfort at the other side, oh, it's
Yeah.
so relieving and it's so worth it. It's interesting. I did a podcast episode in December. Actually, it was Black Friday also. Because I started feeling grief coming
Yeah.
in. And once I allowed myself to explore, I realized it was grief over my father. And I
Wow.
thought, oh my gosh, I mean, it's been 7 years,
Yeah.
and so it's one of those things that just continues to come up. It'll just come, and I just allowed myself I did a whole episode on it, just allowed myself to feel that and to move through it, and to just even thinking about it makes my just eyes start to, like, water because he's always going to be a part of
Yeah.
my life. So I
Exactly.
it's not about getting it over it. It's just about living with it and going, "Oh, yeah, he was such a wonderful part of my life,"
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. And he still
um,
is.
and he still is,
Yeah.
and he still communicates with me through dreams and all kinds of signs, um, but anyhow, that's going back to living and working through and with that discomfort. The other side of that discomfort is really beautiful and
Yeah.
profound. And so
Yeah.
now when the discomfort comes or when things come up or when things trigger me, I have a different view on them. It's like, okay, bring it on. Let's do it. Let's do
Yeah.
the work.
Yeah, and that's the place you wanna be at, where you
Mhm.
can see, "Oh, there's an emotion coming. Hold on. What's going on? Bring it on because I know that I need to work on this right now."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautiful getting to that place. Um, okay, so one more deep profound thing here.
Mm,
One more question on deep profoundness. You've spoken about society pressures on women and self-acceptance. I think I may have heard it on one of your podcast episodes or something. These pressures have a tremendous impact on women's views of their bodies during midlife. A lot of this comes from outside forces. How can we combat this? And better yet, what can we individually and collectively, in your opinion, uh, what can we do so that we can start changing that narrative? And I guess this goes back to like the algorithm part where we were talking about, where sometimes we're watching and being fed that we should be able to snap back into our regular bodies post baby. We should be able to, somebody, I heard this woman in her 50s say, calories are calories. If you gained the weight, cut the calories. And I said, it's just not that simple. It's what my brain said because I've been there.
yeah.
So how do we, and that's not true at our age, there are
Yeah.
other things going on in our bodies hormonally. So in your opinion, how do we start to combat these narratives?
It's so funny that when you were saying that and I was thinking of this book I'm not reading, I'm audiobook. So I'm listening to it and it is exactly what you just said, that there's all this society pressure on our bodies specifically because we have to understand that there's a whole multi-billion dollars industry which makes money because of women feeling bad about their bodies. So they got to make sure that we keep feeling bad about our bodies. Because if we don't feel bad about our bodies, we're not going to buy anti aging creams, we're not going to buy hair colors, we're not going to buy all those products. So we have to be aware of that. So the book I'm mentioning, I'm listening to right now is called Pussy, a Reclamation. It's by Regina. Her last name is a long one, Thomas Howard, I think, but
Okay.
Regina. So it's called
I
Pussy
will I will link
Reclamation.
it. I will link the 2 books that you have mentioned,
Yes,
for the listeners. Yeah.
yeah. And if when I said this name of the book, if that triggered you, that is your conditioning.
Mm.
Because when I first heard that name, I was triggered. I'm like, ooh, why are you saying that word?
Mhm.
Ooh, that feeling of
Mhm.
yeah, yuck, ooh,
Mhm.
it's shameful. Don't say it. That is our conditioning. But that is the conditioning that there's multi-billion dollar industries running on that
Mm. Mm.
so that we don't take control of our bodies, of our pussy.
Ah, I love this.
Yeah.
This is the
So,
I need to read this book.
oh, I'm on chapter 4 and I'm just like, ooh, I love it. So now I'm
Yes.
going to buy the book because I'm listening to the audiobook, but I got to go buy the actual book. And so to be aware of that fact
Mhm.
that there is someone who wants us to feel bad about our bodies
Mm.
because they make money off of that.
Yeah. So one, awareness. If anything,
Yes,
awareness.
awareness. And then after that, once you're more aware, so as you can probably see, my gray hair are showing. I'm in that phase where I'm like, do I color or am I done? Do I color? And there's like, it's so hard to make that decision.
It's hard.
It's
Yes.
hard because I'm always on social media and there's this deep thought, is someone judging me? And I think there's also not even others judging. There's so much conditioning that I myself am judging myself.
Yes. Yes.
So
Correct.
it's been 4 weeks now, and was telling my husband, I'm like, is this it? Am I like ready or should I color? And I'm just gonna go with the flow. I'll see. If
Yes.
tomorrow I feel like no, I need to color, I'm gonna color it. But the point is that we gotta really ask ourselves, what do I want?
Right. That's the point. That's the
Yeah.
key right there. What do
Exactly.
you want? What do you feel like? I've
Yeah.
had the same thoughts myself. In 2020, I was like, "It's the perfect time. It's a
Yeah.
perfect time to let my gray hair grow out. Who's gonna see me?" Like,
Yeah.
it's the perfect time. So I let it grow out for a while, but then if I were gonna go out in public, I'd cover it. I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not
You're
there
not
yet.
ready.
This is my journey."
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with what feels good to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I'll never reach that point. My mom's
And
hair
that's
is
okay
still not
too.
gray. She still colors her hair, and I think it's almost more of a fun thing, she does
Yeah.
her little highlights and, I have an aunt, she's in her 80s, almost yeah, she's in her 80s. She still has dark black hair like me. She
And that's
colors her hair,
yeah.
and that's her signature. Black hair, red lipstick, she still does
Oh,
her nails, she
so
still gets
beautiful.
dressed up. That's her signature, and she's like, "Oh, maybe it's time I just, I'm like, "But no." I mean, if this is
No.
what you want, please, but I love it. I go, "This is
Yeah.
your signature look. This is who you are to me, like, just this that's your thing?" So
Yeah.
she's like, "Okay, okay, that's what my granddaughter said?"
Yeah.
So
I that's so cute and also so powerful.
yes, so
She's like,
powerful.
"Yeah, I'm gonna put my red lipstick on, I'm gonna
Yeah,
paint my nails, and I'm gonna own this body."
yeah, yeah,
Right?
and
And that's
and
totally okay. And
yeah,
when I say this, I don't want anyone to think that
right,
if you're coloring your hair, you are lower than or smaller than or
right.
or someone who's not coloring is better than. No. Point is to ask yourself, how do I feel? What
Yes.
do I want to
What
do?
I want. What do you want?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Where are you at? What feels good to you?
Yeah.
That's why I brought that piece of that piece up of you're on your own journey. So you create your story. Don't let somebody else create it for you and tell you it's time you let your hair grow out, your gray hair grow out. I think it's beautiful. I have friends that have already let their hair grow out, and I know that there's a big movement for that.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love to see that. And for those who want to embrace that, and for those
Exactly.
who love to color their hair or do whatever it is, it's as if you're doing your nails, it's keep doing what is good
Keep
for
doing
you.
it. Yeah.
So, love
Yeah.
that.
And for me also, I think it's more of like, oh gosh, it's too much work.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Every 2, 3 weeks, I'm like, "Oh gosh, it's too much
Yes.
work." So it's not
Exactly.
that, okay, I don't wanna do it because someone else is not doing it or what. No, it's more like, okay, do I really need to put that much effort into
Right.
it? And if I feel I do, and it's interesting, I've done it 3 times now where I let it grow for a month and then I'm like, "Oh, today I have time. It's not that
Yeah.
much effort. I feel like doing it today."
Yes,
But to be
exactly.
comfortable, I'm at that place where I'm comfortable showing up on social media, comfortable showing up with my clients on Zoom, with whatever growth I have. And the next day, if I color it, I color it.
Right. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Mhm. Okay. Well, it has been amazing. Is there any one more piece of advice or any final words of wisdom you would like to share with the women who are listening who tend to be in midlife in regards to this stage of perimenopause or menopause? Any final words of wisdom you'd like to share?
I want to say that, and this is the reason I'm saying this is because this is one of my intentions of 2024. Be in tune with your emotions. Your emotions are the guide or the GPS to show you what's the next step in your healing journey, what's the next step in your self-love journey, what's the next step in your menopausal body, whatever. Unfortunately, most of us zombie walk through life, and if we feel negative emotions come up, we suppress them or we numb them by scrolling on social media or by watching Netflix for hours or by drinking alcohol or whatever. And I'm not saying any of those things are bad. What I'm saying is, be in tune with your emotions. Why am I scrolling right now? Is there something I need to feel? Is there something I need to process? And those emotions will then literally take you to the next level because knows.
Hmm.
Our body knows that it needs to heal and it shows it through your emotions. You
Hmm.
feel this awkward, weird feeling every time. I have tested it so many times that the days I don't want to do my work, my business, or any client work or anything, and I just want to sit on the couch and scroll, I got to stop and start journaling
I
because
love
there's
that.
something going on.
I love that.
Yeah. So just be more in touch with your emotions.
Mm.
And the biggest thing is journaling is your best friend. So
Mhm.
journal, journal, journal.
Yes, I love journaling 100%. It's one of the things that I recommend to all my clients. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is beautiful. Everything, our conversation has been amazing, as was our last one that we had as well. So, where can people find you, and what do you got going on? What services or projects, or how can people work with you?
Okay, so the best place to find me is Instagram. I love to hang out there. It's very simple. My name, Sunny underscore Lamba. And I do have a self love journal for women of color. It is on Amazon. It's called Flaw Authentic Me. So they can find
Ooh.
that journal. It is a 8-week journey. And a few journal prompts that I mentioned today in our chat actually come from
Um,
that journal. And I love that because it's specifically for women of color. It addresses those things. It addresses the conditioning that we as women of color have
mhm.
been gone through, and we grew up with that.
Yes,
So it addresses all those things. And other than that, just come see me on Instagram. I do have my podcast as well. It's called Flaw Authentic Me.
yes, and
And
it's
I love talking about things that we talk today.
yes, I will link all of that, your journal on Amazon, your Instagram, and the podcast. I will link all of that in the show notes so you guys can all easily go find her there in the show notes. Thank you so much, Sunny, for accepting my invitation. It has been incredible getting to know you, and now I follow you on Instagram too, so we can keep that friendship going.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so, so, so much for having me. It was such a beautiful, heartfelt, and very deep, profound conversation. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure you have found some aha moments, some beautiful moments of reflection in this conversation. As I mentioned, everything is linked in the show notes for you. Please share this with your amigas, with your friends, with your comadres, with your sisters, with your primas. Share this with other women in our age group and in midlife, which is around 35 to 55, so that we can all learn to love ourselves more fully and accept our changing bodies in this stage. It's incredibly important that we start fighting back and changing the narrative that the media is selling us, and to be aware and not allow ourselves to be the target of this multi-million dollar industry that wants us to continue looking for flaws in ourselves. Thank you so much for being here. The best way that you can support me, like I said, is sharing this episode with somebody and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even on YouTube. I am on YouTube as well. So subscribe, leave comments, share. It costs nothing, maybe a couple of minutes, and that's it. I really appreciate you being here. Hasta la próxima.